and show them the way to leave those sinning ways where they lie.
I'm trying to help you. You watch him, man.
According to the legends, there were once people in this world who could create such true music that it could conjure spirits from the past and future. Not only that, this gift could bring fame and fortune, but it also broke the veil between the living and the dead. Worst of all, this music could attract evil. From ancient times, such people were called by different names, like fire people and so on. We see a young man named Sammy who is badly injured, arriving at a church holding a broken guitar. Seeing Sammy in such a condition, the church people get worried, and the pastor begins to pray for him. The pastor tells Sammy to stay away from evil by abandoning music. Sammy has been suffering from strange nightmares, indicating that something dangerous happened the previous night.
And show them the way to leave those sinning ways where they lie.
This story is set on October 15th to 16th, 1932. A day earlier, we see Sammy finishing his work and picking up his guitar at the church. The pastor of this community church, whom we saw earlier, is actually Sammy's father. He was never happy with Sammy's passion for music. In fact, he believed that music was a symbol of the devil's power. But Sammy not only loved music, he was also exceptionally talented in the blues genre. For those who don't know, blues is a soulful and emotional genre of music developed in the 19th century by African American communities, specifically in the southern United States. It usually features a slow tempo, deep lyrics, and heavy use of guitar or harmonica, reflecting pain, struggle, and real-life emotions. Many people even consider blues as the foundation of modern genres like rock, jazz, and R&B. From here, the scene shifts to twin brothers named Smoke and Stuck. They were World War I veterans who had recently returned to their village in Mississippi. Earlier, they had been in Chicago where they were involved with gangs and made a lot of money. With that money, they now wanted to open a juke joint in their village. A juke joint was an informal place for music, dance, drinks, and gambling, mostly catering to the African American community, where people could enjoy themselves after a hard day's work. To set this up, Smoke and Stuck buy a place from a white man named Hogwood. We can see that Hogwood was racist. He kept spitting while looking at the brothers, and though surprised at how much money they had, he still didn't show them respect. After buying the place, the brothers go out to hire talent, since a juke joint obviously needed musicians. The first person they recruit is Sammy, who is also their cousin, to sing and play guitar.
Oh, don't you worry now, Uncle Jake.
Then Stuck and Sammy separate from Smoke and go together to hire a man named Delta Slim, who was skilled at playing the harmonica and piano.
It's gonna be a real ring-a-ding-ding, just for us.
Sammy also interacts with a singer named Furlong, and it becomes clear that both liked each other. Meanwhile, Stuck also meets his ex-girlfriend Mary, who is upset because she had waited for him for a long time. But after leaving, he never contacted her. We also learn that Mary's mother had just died the previous day, and in their childhood, she had even taken care of Stuck and Smoke for a short time. Mary was kind of white, since her parents were half black, but she was more integrated into the white community. The emphasis on race here is important because the film itself highlights it heavily to portray the racism of the 1930s clearly. We'll talk more about that in the theory section later. After this, Stuck takes Sammy and Delta Slim to a cotton field, where they meet an old friend named Cornbread, who becomes the doorman, security, for their juke joint.
She might even let you put your peck in her mouth.
Basically like a bouncer. On the other hand, Smoke goes into town and hires two local Chinese shopkeepers, Grace and Bo, to handle catering at the juke joint, serving food and drinks, creating a gambling environment, and so on. Later, Smoke visits his wife Annie. Although they are still married, they are distant from each other, mostly because of constant arguments over occult rituals.
Dark that is.
Well, you figure tonight gonna be grand open?
I thought y'all was done with the death.
Annie not only believed in these rituals, but also practiced them, while Smoke insisted that he had traveled the world during the war and never once saw a ghost. Annie explains that she had been doing rituals to keep the twins safe, but Smoke angrily reminds her that if her rituals were so powerful, then why couldn't she save their infant daughter, who had died shortly after birth? We also see that Smoke still wears the talisman Annie had given him. After their argument, the two eventually become intimate again. After this, the story shifts its focus to a man named Remick, who, in an injured condition, takes refuge in the house of a couple named Bert and Joan. Soon after, some vampire hunters arrive there in search of Remick, but Joan lies to them, saying no one came into their house.
No.
Is he in there with you now?
As the sun sets, the hunters leave, but the truth is revealed. Remick, an Irish immigrant vampire, had already drunk Bert's blood and turned him into a vampire as well. Witnessing this, Joan screams, and the scene cuts,
Don't cry.
implying that she too would soon be attacked and turned into a vampire. The story then returns to Stack and Smoke, whose hideout was finally complete, and their juke joint was ready for its opening night. Although Stack and Smoke were brothers, their personalities were completely different. Smoke was serious and business-minded, while Stack was fun-loving and emotional. At the juke joint, Smoke insisted on strict rules for entry fees, refusing any exceptions, but Stack and Annie reminded him that their community worked hard all day and came here to relax, so those with less money should also be allowed in.
Tonight. Besides, only be a few of them like this.
Along with Stack and Smoke, the juke joint had Sammy and Delta Slim performing music, Annie, Mary, and Perline present, while Grace and Bo enjoyed food, drinks, and gambling. Cornbread handled the security. The place was filled with customers dancing, singing, and drinking. The opening night turned into a huge success. Later, Sammy began performing blues. His song was so powerful that it attracted spirits of the past and present. Just as the film's intro had explained. The performance also drew Remick, along with Bert and Joan, now turned vampires. The intro had warned that such music even attracts evil, and it was proven true. Remick approached the joint, asking permission to come inside,
We like to drink.
saying he only wanted to enjoy the music and spend money with his friends. But Smoke and Stack refused him, mainly because he was white and also behaving suspiciously. Rejected, Remick left but stayed close by, singing with Bert and Joan.
You shall change your mind.
Inside the joint, different events unfolded. Perline and Sammy grew intimate, Mary argued with Stack, and Smoke clashed with Sammy. Later, when Mary stepped outside alone, she encountered Remick, Bert, and Joan. They offered gold coins to gain entry. But Remick's drooling saliva exposed his thirst for Mary's blood. Realizing something was wrong, Mary tried to escape, but Remick attacked her, turning her into a vampire. Soon after, she re-entered the joint, seduced Stack, and bit him, killing him. Smoke arrived in time to witness this, shooting Mary multiple times, but the bullets had no effect. She laughed and escaped unharmed. Smoke was devastated by Stack's death. He quickly evacuated everyone inside, while Annie explained that this was vampire activity, proof being Mary's resistance to bullets. Meanwhile, Cornbread, the security man, went outside to urinate, but was attacked by Remick, who turned him into a vampire. Moments later, Cornbread returned asking for permission to enter,
Well, let me in so I can help.
Hold on.
which confirmed his transformation, since vampires cannot enter without an invitation. Pretending he wanted his wages, he tried to bite Smoke, but Smoke fought him back. At this point, no one could be trusted, as anyone could already be turned. Even after being shot, Cornbread continued moving. Soon, Stack, who had died earlier, rose again as a vampire, but Annie splashed him with pickled garlic juice, causing him to burn and retreat. Annie explained the rules clearly. Vampires could only be killed with silver or wooden stakes. Garlic could repel them, and they could not enter without an invitation. She distributed garlic pickles to everyone, to ensure no one inside was infected. Outside, however, many of the evacuated customers had already been attacked and turned, now dancing with Remick. Grace's husband Bo also became a vampire when he went to fetch the car. Now only a handful of humans remained inside. Smoke, Annie, Sammy, Delta Slim, Perline, and Grace. Their plan was to survive until sunrise, as vampires could not withstand daylight. Remick then appeared to talk. He tried convincing them to embrace vampirism, calling it the better path. No racism, no discrimination, immortality, and freedom. He revealed that Bert and Joan were actually part of Hogwood's local clan, who had planned to kill Stack and Smoke the next morning and steal their money, simply because they were black men who had earned wealth. Vampirism, he argued, erased such prejudice. Furthermore, vampires had access to the memories of those they turned, which was how Remick knew the truth. Remick insisted that vampirism was the only true freedom, as society would never respect Smoke and Stack. Stack, already turned, was happy with Vampire Mary.
It is me, Elias Small. And I'm talking to my big brother right now, Slim, so I'm a comment.
But Remick wanted the rest of them as well. His real desire, however, was Sammy, whose music was magical enough to move spirits, something Remick deeply coveted. But the group refused to give up Sammy, leading to a full war. Grace, furious at her husband Beau's death, lost control when Remick threatened to attack her daughter at home. By challenging him, she unintentionally gave the vampires an invitation to enter. Sparking an all-out battle. In the fight, Annie, Grace, and Delta Slim were killed, Slim sacrificing himself to protect the others. Mary, already a vampire, was devastated by Annie's death and fled. Tragically,
No, let's go.
Annie had been bitten by Stack before dying, forcing Smoke to kill her himself with a wooden stake, a heartbreaking moment. Meanwhile, Sammy and Perline tried escaping, but Remick and Stack cornered them. Smoke arrived, and a brutal fight broke out between him and Stack, while Sammy and Perline faced Remick. Perline was bitten, and before dying, begged Sammy to escape. Sammy tried fleeing by car, but Remick blocked him. Surrounded, Sammy smashed his guitar over Remick's head.
Do everything.
And the silver plate in the guitar inflicted severe pain. Though Remick wasn't killed, the damage spread to the other vampires as well. Before Remick could recover, Smoke drove a wooden stake through his heart, finally killing him. Sunrise followed, burning the remaining vampires to ashes. However, it was left unclear whether Stack was truly destroyed during his fight with Smoke. Smoke then urged Sammy to escape, as Hogwood's clan would arrive at dawn. Sammy fled, while Smoke stayed behind to face the armed clan alone. Though he killed them all, he was fatally wounded. In his final moments, he saw a vision of Annie and their daughter before succumbing to his injuries. Sammy, exhausted and grieving, returned to his father's church. In the mid-credits scene, set 60 years later in 1992 Chicago, we see an older Sammy, now a famous blues musician. He is visited by Stack and Mary, who reveal that Smoke had spared Stack's life that night under the condition that he would never harm Sammy. Stack and Mary now offer Sammy immortality, but he politely declines. They ask him to play one last song before leaving. Sammy admits that the nightmares of that night still haunt him, but remembers the day before it as the best of his life. Stack agrees. It was the last day he saw his brother, the last day he felt sunlight, and the last day he knew true freedom. In the post-credits, we see young Sammy playing his guitar, symbolizing the day before the horrific night of 1932. The film Sinners is more than just a supernatural horror. It explores racism and cultural struggle in 1930s America, using vampirism as a metaphor for systemic oppression. Music, especially blues, is shown as both spiritual weapon and cultural identity, uniting generations against suffering. Vampires here are not just monsters, but symbolic of exploitation and hate passed through generations.
So I'll live like it's the last time for a long time.